Hello and welcome to the Thoughts Can Heal podcast. I am your host, Denise Lynn, and I'm so excited that you're here and taking a few minutes out of your day to spend with me. If you are new to this podcast, I just want to welcome you. I'm so grateful that you're tuning in. In past episodes, you can go back in the history of the past episodes and just find different ways, different episodes where I help people reduce stress, teaching tools and techniques to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, and ultimately live a happier, more abundant life. I am super duper excited about today's episode because it is on the topic of manifesting, which is probably one of my most favorite things to study. And it's been something that I've been studying pretty hardcore for the past 9 years. And it started because, and you might be able to relate to this, but a friend of mine about 9 years ago asked me if I'd seen the movie The Secret, and I had not. And so I somehow got a hold of it. I don't know if I watched it on Netflix. I really don't know. I think so. But anyhow, I watched it. I ended up watching it. This was 9 years ago, and I was pretty mesmerized by it. But then I didn't really think too much about it until at that time I was in a relationship with my ex-fiance who unfortunately passed away from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. But if you know my story, I started going through having some severe anxiety, and I was going through what's called anticipatory grief during the time when I was with him and caretaking in those final years. So the strangest thing happened. I was feeling very, very anxious, and I went on YouTube and I started searching, things about fear and how to get rid of fear and such. And a video from the late, amazing Bob Proctor popped up. So if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, he was actually somebody that was also on The Secret. So it's kind of strange how that happened. So anyhow, I ended up getting hooked on Bob Proctor, and I started learning about the universal laws, and I started doing seminars with Bob and his company, and I just fell in love with the material. I did several courses and just sucked in as much information as I could because I really wanted to understand this law of what they call law of attraction. But what Bob taught us was actually that's the secondary law. The first law is a law of vibration. So I've been studying manifesting now for 9 years. I absolutely love it. I've gone through several different teachers, and it's just like probably my favorite thing to do in my pastime is to study this stuff. So I have wonderful mentors too, and so enough with that. So I've been studying, and a lot of times I spend more time studying than actually applying the information that I've learned into my life. I have, but I actually am just now really starting to spend just as much time, if not more, applying all these things that I've learned over the last 9 years. And all I can say is it's been awesome, especially within the last couple months. So the reason I wanted to do this podcast today is, well, first of all, we are always manifesting, always. And basically, it comes down to our thoughts, right? So whatever we're focusing on, whatever thoughts we're focusing on, whether they're positive or negative, they're going to end up showing up in our lives. So the first thing we have to do, if you're new to this world of manifesting, like on purpose, is to be aware of what we're thinking. So, I mean, we're always manifesting. Everything that's going on in your life right now, you've manifested it. And some people, that's a hard thing to chew, because sometimes there's things that show up in our lives that just don't seem fair at all. But basically, for you personally, the house you're living in, the car you're driving, the relationships that you have with people, everything that's going on within that, those things, how much money you have in the bank account, all of that is a result of your past thinking. So the pretty cool thing is, if you're not happy with any of those things that are going on in your life, you can switch them. You can change them, because you can start changing the way you're thinking. All right. So something really cool happened to me a couple weeks ago. This was the biggest thing I've manifested so far in the last 9 years. Now, in the past 9 years, I have manifested a lot of what I've written down, and that's the key. You really have to get very clear on what it is that you want in this life, and you have to write it down in detail. So I've manifested a lot of things, many things, not everything. But a couple weeks ago, I manifested the biggest thing ever, and it was a huge account for a client of mine. So if you don't know, I don't always just do podcasts. I also am in marketing. So I have one client right now that I'm still working with, because I do have several other things that I do for a living. I have books out there, and I teach yoga, and I have some courses out there. But I've had this one client that I've been marketing for since 2013, and he is basically a second father to me. So I'm sticking with him until the end, until he closes down. But so business, the first quarter of this year hasn't been very good for his industry. And our marketing is perfect. I mean, the work that I do, we're showing up everywhere. Like, I basically have done everything that I could for this client, but people just aren't spending the money in this industry, at least for this first quarter of the year, that they have been in past years. So I'm not going to get into all the logistics, but basically I needed to figure something out to keep this company staying open and to keep his other employees working. And like I said, this person is like a father figure to me. So I ended up going to this huge resort here in Florida. I'm not going to say any names or anything, but I stayed there with my fiance, and I had noticed something. So this client of mine is a tile and grout cleaning company. So I noticed that the tile was dirty in the bathrooms in our suite. And now this resort is immaculate. Like, that's the only thing that I saw any dirt on. So anyhow, long story short, I thought, okay, I'm going to land this resort for him. And I used all the tools that I've learned over the last 9 years. Now, this is a huge account. The company that I'm market for will not have to do any other work for the next year and a half. That's how huge. And business was so slow that he was considering closing down. So I end up landing it, and I'm so excited because I manifested it. I saw the vision, I wrote it down, and every day for a week, I just closed my eyes, and even when the negative thought, oh no, we're not going to get it. Nope. I stayed true to the teachings that I have been taught. I felt the feelings, I felt the emotions, which are some of the key things that you have to do, and we ended up landing it. So I'm so excited, and that's why I wanted to share some of the tips. I wanted to break it down because for me, over the past 9 years, when I first began learning this information, it was like a foreign language to me. So my hope is that I can break it down into a really simple way for you so that you can start using this to your advantage, like immediately. All right. So here we go. So, our minds are so powerful. And this topic really is so fascinating. And like I said, whether you realize it or not, you're always manifesting. Just like praying, manifesting happens continuously. It's either constructively or destructively. So think about that, right? Like, a lot of times, unfortunately, because of our ancestral brains, we tend to focus on the negative rather than the positive. So that's kind of hard, because in order to manifest your desires, which I'm sure your desires are, abundance, good health, healthy relationships, a home, a new car, more money in the bank account, all those things, right? Like that's usually what we want because, well, bottom line is, number one, we deserve those things. This is a very abundant universe. There is enough for everybody, not just, if somebody else gets something and you don't get it, that's something, if you have that temperament, that you get jealous when other people have nice things. If you want to manifest good things, my friend, that's something you need to work on immediately because there is enough for everyone, more than enough. And that is a lack mentality. That is a low vibrational frequency. So I love the quote, like, whatever you wish for yourself, wish for everybody else too. And that's something I practice daily. Whatever I want for myself, I want those blessings for other people too. There's no time for jealousy. There's no time for, oh, why did she get that? Or why did he get that? Because they got it because they deserve it. And we all deserve it. And they know they deserve it. The people that are getting things, they know that they're worthy. So we have to change that mindset. That's one of the first things. And I used to be that way. I used to get jealous of people having things that I didn't have. But no way, no sir, not anymore, because that is just a very, very low frequency. Bottom line is, we have to match the frequency of whatever it is we desire or whatever we're manifesting. So say, for example, you want a new car or you want to buy a house and pay it in cash, right? But you're constantly worrying about money, so there's two different things going on. You want this, you desire this wonderful thing, but you think, oh, that's too much money or blah, 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 So you have to actually match the frequency of what it is that you want. And so sometimes that's going to take some time, especially if you grew up like most of us did, where people said, oh, that's too expensive. Stop saying that, by the way. Or money doesn't grow on trees. A lot of lack talk. That's probably programmed into you, because first 7 years we're sponges. So everything that whoever was raising us said, we believed it. So a lot of times when we want to change and start manifesting the good, we have to really sit back and look at our old programming. And if there's faulty programming, we need to correct it by simply changing the beliefs. And I know that I'm saying simply, and someone might say, well, that's really hard. I'm 40 something years old, or I'm 30. How do I change a belief that I've had? Well, first thing is you become aware of that belief. And then secondly, there's many things you could do. You could start saying mantras like positive affirmations. But the thing with mantras and positive affirmations, you have to really actually feel those words that you're saying. They can't just be idle words. All right, so I want to start with the concept that we really do become what we think about. And the vibration of our thoughts, they must align with what we desire. Again, and the truth is, whatever you desire or pray for, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. That's from the Bible, all right? But unfortunately, that goes with good or bad. If you have some weird pain in your head and you start freaking out and going down like this negative thought loop, like, oh my gosh, what if it's a brain tumor? And you just start focusing on ill health. You will make yourself sick. I'm not saying you'll give yourself a tumor, but people have actually done that. You can make yourself sick or you can make yourself well, depending on your thought and the thought vibration. So it's just something to always keep in mind. And when you're aware of these things, like how powerful your thoughts are, when you become aware of it, you start really paying attention to what you're thinking. And if you are having like a negative thought loop or for some reason, or you're worried and you're, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, but I think it's like worrying is like praying for what you don't want to happen. And trust me, I have done this. I still have to work on this myself. I worry all the time, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better because I'm conscious and I'm aware of what I'm thinking. So, another thing to think about, everything that you see around you was once just a thought in someone's mind. The chair, the table, the device you're listening to this on, it all started as an idea in somebody's mind, right? So isn't that cool? And we have that power. We have the power to visualize, to think about what it is we want. You have the power to sit down and really in detail, think about, let's use a house as an example, the layout of the house, how it would feel when you walk through the door. Like, these are the important things when you want to manifest your desires. You want to fuse with the feeling. You want to feel the emotions. So you would sit down every day. First of all, you get clear on what you want. Secondly, you write it out in detail. And then third, start paying attention to any negative programs that you already have, so that maybe some limiting beliefs, so that you can start switching those beliefs. And every day, as often as you can, but even if you can only do it for 30 minutes, definitely I suggest doing it in the morning and right before bed, because at these times, that's when your subconscious mind, we can get into that topic another time, but that's when your subconscious mind is open to receiving this information. And that's what you want to do. You want to reprogram the subconscious mind. You want to get the good things into your subconscious mind. And I will do another podcast in the future on why that's important, but it's a little bit too much for me to expand on in this podcast. So again, you want to feel it every day. You want to say thank you. Thank you. Even though you're not seeing it, even though you can't touch that door knob, you go in your mind and you touch it. You open that door. You walk through the door. Imagine the furniture to a T. To a T. Imagine sitting on the couch. Close your eyes. You can do this. We all have wonderful imaginations, but most of us are imagining things that we don't want. So this is just switching it. And it's so cool. So imagine the feeling. Imagine sitting at the table with your family or standing in the kitchen looking out the window. Really get yourself emotionally involved and feeling. So feeling is the secret. Actually, there's a book by one of my favorite authors. He's no longer here on this earthly plane, but his name is Neville Goddard. And he's all about this. So if you want to further and deepen your understanding on manifesting, definitely recommend Neville Goddard. All right, so you want to get into the feeling, how it feels, and gratitude. So you want to thank God or universe, whoever you call it. I call it God. But whatever you want to call it is perfectly fine. Thank God or universe, whoever, for already receiving it, and then relax. So something I was taught to think of it like is like a gardener planting. So you plant the seeds. If you plant a carrot seed, you're not going to get an onion, you're going to get a carrot. But there's a time for everything. There's a time for every different plant. There's a time for every different animal and humans, as far as the birthing process, when the sperm is the seed is in, and then there's a time. So there's going to be a time from the time that you get really clear on your goal and you start doing the proper things to get in alignment with these goals. There will be a time, just like there's a time for, a carrot to grow or the potatoes, to harvest. So there will be a time. And I want you to start thinking of your mind as soil. And you want to, what would you do if you were, planting a carrot? Would you poison it with poison? Would you put nightshade? I heard somebody say no, you would not poison that soil. You're a farmer. You want that carrot to grow. So what would you be doing? You'd be making sure it had light, it had enough water, and the right nutrients, right? Well, that's what we need to start doing with our own minds. We need to clear the garbage out. We need to have pure minds. Now, is that 100% possible all the time? No. Do I still work on it every day? Yes. Do I make mistakes every day? Probably. I've made some really ucky mistakes. But the first thing I did when I wanted to start turning my life around is, number one, forgave myself, and I still do forgive myself for everything I've done wrong. Secondly, I have forgiven everybody in my life, everybody under the sun, everybody. Now, does that mean that I like some of these people that did me wrong, or that I'm going to have them over for dinner or anything like that? No, that doesn't mean that I like them. No, I will not have somebody that has hurt me time and time again into my home, around my family. But forgiving them? Absolutely. And it's almost kind of selfish. But I also do love these people. I send love. And that was one of the first things I learned from Bob Proctor when it comes to changing what he calls paradigms in order for us to get into the frequency of the things that we desire, and he taught us to get really clear on what it is we want. Like, he would ask that question, like hardcore, like, what do you want? Because so many of us don't even know. Like, we might know that we might want to lose a few pounds, or we might know that we'd like to get a car, or to pay off our car, or pay off our house, but we never get really clear. I mean, and we are abundant beings. We have the potential to have everything it is we want. And here's the thing. Abundance doesn't always have to be fancy money. I mean, abundance to me is having my kids over, all of my kids. I have 5 kids. 3 of them are adults. And I have 2 granddaughters. Abundance to me is having them all here eating dinner together. Abundance to me is the fact that I have manifested a life where I don't have to go to work. I don't have to drive a car and get caught in traffic. I mean, I have truly manifested this life where I can sleep, until 10 or 11 a.m., get up, relax with my animals, do a little work. I mean, I'm literally working maybe like total 3.5-hour days right now. And I love it. That to me is abundance. So abundance is different for everybody. Somebody might want a Porsche. Well, I don't want a Porsche because I don't even like to drive. But I love to go on wonderful vacations, and I love driving in nice cars, and there's nothing wrong with that. There should be absolutely no guilt in wanting to have nice things. Absolutely zero guilt. All right, but we have to clean our vessel. So the thing is, what do you mean clean our vessel? So our vessel is our minds. We need to try to purify the best we can our thinking. So if you're harboring, this is what I want you to do. If you want to grab a piece of paper, please do, because I want you to take some notes here. These are the things that are going to get you closer to your goals and your dreams. All right. Number 1, if you're harboring resentment towards anybody, and I mean anyone, even if they did you so wrong, because trust me, I've been there. But at the same time, I think all of us, every single human, has also done something that wasn't right to somebody else, whether they were aware of it or not. We're just not perfect beings. But if there's somebody that you're really just like resentful of, jealous of, you have these icky feelings about, that's the person that for the next, if it takes 30 days, you need to sit, close your eyes, send that person love. What I did with a few people that I was experiencing like some resentment with, and it worked wonders, is every day I would write to them. I didn't send it to them, but this alone, you're sending that energy that's positive to them, which is wonderful, and you're clearing the yuck out of your own mind. So I would write to so-and-so's higher power, to so-and-so even, I'm sorry for whatever I have done to hurt you, whether it was in thoughts or actions. And I forgive you, so-and-so, for whatever you have done to me, whether it be thought or actions. Our, karmic record is clean, and I wish you all the best in the world, and I wish you all the blessings, everything good that this universe has. I wish it all for you. And I meant it, and I still mean it. I do. I wish the best for everybody, because I know that we all can have it. And I know that when I cut myself off there with that icky feeling like, ugh, why did they get that and I don't get it? That's not doing me any justice. That is just preventing me from having it. So that's another thing. Write that down. Stop with being jealous of what other people have. Because actually, if somebody has something that you want, you need to start studying them. You need to become their friend. You need to go use them and look at them as a role model and be like, thank you, because you've done this. I know now I can do it, and dig their brains. Like, how did you get it? How did you do that? That's how you should be thinking of them, and being grateful for them that they've done something, because they're just proving to you that you can do it too. All right. So another thing is it's just basically having a healthy state of mind. So forgiveness is huge. Again, I understand this. Forgiveness can be a tough one for a lot of people, but it's so important. At the end of the day, this is your life. We don't know if we have any other lives. We don't even know what happens after we pass away. Why? I know that you wouldn't want to be sitting there at the end of your life going, oh my gosh, why did I spend all those days, months, maybe years not forgiving somebody and letting those negative thoughts just entertain my brain, because that just cut me off from so much good that I could have had. So I want you to remember that. So forgiveness, letting go of anger, letting go of jealousy, letting go of resentment. If somebody did something to you, look, it's over. There's nothing you can't go back. All right. So for your sake, keep your vessel clean, forgive, send love, wish blessings for everybody. It feels so good too, I'm telling you. And you're just going to raise your vibration, and you're going to attract more and more of the things that you desire. So I'm going to sum this up. Basically, just be mindful of your thoughts. And sometimes we will get into these ways and people say, oh my God, I can't stop with the thoughts. Okay. I get that. Totally get that. But first thing is, write this down. Just be aware. All right? If you can, replace, as soon as you become aware that you're thinking something negative, replace it with something positive. If you can't do that, because it's hard for a lot of people, start saying a mantra. My favorite is, and this is something I've just started recently, God is love, God's peace fills my soul. God is love, God's peace fills my soul. If you just start saying that, or you can say anything for that matter, you'll quiet the mind down. Anything. You can say Coca-Cola. It means nothing. Thanking God and calling in and letting God know that He's there for you is a lot more powerful than the word Coca-Cola. But to quiet down the monkey mind, any word will do. But I suggest some sort of positive affirmation or something like that. All right. So to sum this episode up, I'm going to sum it up. Gratitude, right? Appreciation, being grateful in advance for what it is that you want. That's one of the keys to manifesting. Feeling as if it's already here, because guess what? It is real, even though you can't touch it, just like that chair, just like that table that was in the builder's imagination. Once it gets there in the imagination and mind, it's real. It's real. And you're like, yeah, right. No, it's not real. I don't see that money in my bank account, Denise. Oh, it'll be there. If you have patience, if you plant the right seeds, if you believe. So it's belief, feeling, merging the feeling, getting on the right vibration, getting rid of all that negative vibrational thoughts and all the yucky stuff, like getting higher up on the vibrational plane. And you're going to feel better. You're going to feel better. Know that it's already done. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's another book by Neville Goddard, or a quote that he said all the time. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Once you start walking around like that, you're going to start manifesting really quickly. So belief, faith, right? Like in the Bible it says, when you pray for something, believe that you already have it and you shall receive it. And remember something. If this makes you feel uncomfortable, like, oh, I don't deserve it, or, people with money are evil, well, guess what? I know a lot of evil people who are broke, all right? There's a lot of people with money who are awesome, who are good, who are doing wonderful things for this world. So that is just some hogwash crap that we were taught from people who were taught that. But you are deserving of everything wonderful in this world. And once you start to align yourself with the right frequencies and the frequencies of the things that you desire, you're going to start bringing them in. They start showing up physically in your reality. Because again, once they become in your mind, it's already real. It's already done. It's just waiting on you to match the frequency. All right. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And again, I will have another podcast staying on this topic, teaching you more about our subconscious mind if you're not familiar with that, because it is like the main player when it comes to manifesting. But there's many resources out there that you can go online, and teachers like Bob Proctor, Neville Goddard, Dr. Joseph Murphy. Again, he's no longer with us either, but probably one of my all-time favorites. And there's many wonderful teachers from the past and now in the present who are teaching this information that is ancient and it's true. And I wish you all the best in your manifesting journey. And again, don't forget, you're always manifesting. So whether it's constructively or destructively, so focus on doing it constructively for your happiness and for your abundant, happy, peaceful life. All right. I usually end with some breathing techniques, but today actually we're just going to do a couple of really quick ones. And what I'm going to share with you is something called the physiological sigh. And this physiological sigh works so quickly to calm the nervous system down. So please use this if you're ever in a state of anxiety or just super stressed out. What you're going to do is you're going to inhale in through your nose, and at the top of the breath, you're going to take an actual extra sip of breath in through the nose. Then you're going to pause just for a second, like hold the breath at the top, and then you're going to exhale out of your mouth with a sigh sound, like but you want to extend your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. And that will send an actual message to your brain that you are safe. All right, so let's do that together. Deep breath in through the nose. Extra sip. Exhale out. Inhale in. Extra sip. Exhale out. One last time. Inhale. Extra sip. Exhale out. All right, my friends. One last thing I'm so super excited to announce. I'm not sure if you listen often to my podcast, but I ended up publishing a podcast last week it was actually only supposed to be for just close friends and family, but I ended up using my podcast software, so it kind of sent it out to everybody, and I'm okay with that. But in any case, I created a new method. It's called the 7x7 method. It's 7 tools in 7 minutes to help reduce stress and anxiety. And I finished the book. Right now it's just being formatted, so that's going to be available on Amazon probably by the middle of next week. So I'm super excited about that. And if it's something that you're interested in, you can, right now I'm doing some maintenance on my website, but just write this down because in the next few days, my website will be back up. You can visit www.deniselynn.net, and it'll have, more information on how you can purchase the book. So the book will be available on Amazon online and also barnesandnobles.com. All right. With all this being said, I'm again wishing you all the best, everything in the world, all the blessings, all the goodness that this world has to offer for you. And until next time, take care. Namaste.